All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our monthly Sage Circle. My name is Chauncey Lundy, and I am the Director of Joy at Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium. And we have these monthly Sage Circles that cover topics that you may want to know about for your organization. We call this our way of providing wisdom from people who are connected to our network and they have something to share. They want to tell their story in a way that actually helps you and your organization or the work that you're doing. Today, I'm glad to have with us Vivian Anderson of Every Black Girl. And so we're going to listen to her today. But before I do that, for those of you who are not familiar with Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium, what I want to do is just give you a background about who we are. So first of all, I have to say that we just wrapped up a 2-day conference in Memphis, Tennessee, June 9th and 10th, where we welcomed over 1,300 Black girls and women. And if you check our socials, particularly on Instagram, at Southern Black Girls, you will see all of the joy and fun and laughter that we have. We've had some amazing pictures. I can't wait to see more videos. But if you look at the hashtag Black Girls Dream or Southern Black Girls, you should see all the fun and excitement that we had in Memphis, Tennessee. It was absolutely incredible. So stay tuned for more information on our next Black Girls Dream conference and all the exciting things that we're doing at Southern Black Girls. Today, again, I'm going to tell you about Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium, and then we're going to hear about the topic, creating a world where Black girls thrive. And Vivian Anderson of Every Black Girl will be leading that discussion. So about us, Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium, it's a collective of, we say, funders, activists, community organizers, and leaders working to advance the movements for Black girls and women in the Deep South. And one of the reasons we just don't say we're a collection of nonprofit organizations, because that has certain stipulations, but we're a collection of people who are working to make change for Black girls and women in the South. So no matter if you are in a formal institution or not, we are about people who are striving to make a difference, and we do non-traditional philanthropy to help advance that. We were founded by our visionary founder, Latasha Brown, who had this idea after seeing a report about the lack of philanthropic dollars going to Black women and girls in the South. Less than 1% of the $5 billion that was invested in the South went to Black women and girl-led organizations. And so she had the idea that we could fund our own and that we would raise the money to do that. And she brought together Felicia Lucky of the Black Belt Community Foundation, Margot Miller of the Appalachian Community Foundation, and Alice Jenkins of the Fund for Southern Communities to spearhead this organization, to set it up, get the infrastructure in her own organization, True Speaks Innovation Foundation, to do that work. Our model is really rooted in love, joy, and self-determination. And if you saw our conference in Memphis, you would know that it is just that. We center Black girls and women in everything that we do. There are so many ways to be involved in our organization, in Southern Black Girls and Women, so that you can see yourselves and you can see and understand the types of issues that Black women and girls are facing across the South, as well as gender expansive youth. I should also say that as well. And so with that, we have this Sage Circle offering that we have every fourth Thursday of the month, but we also have the Wisdom Council, which helps make decisions around funding for organizations that apply for grants. And we have our youth ambassadors who also help make decisions for our Black Girl Joy Challenge, which I'll talk about in just a few minutes. Our values are Black women and girl-led. That's one of the first questions that we ask in our grants. Is it Black women or girl-led organization? When we went out for workshops for our conference, we made sure to procure workshops from Black women and girl-led Black women or girls, but also those organizations, and being intentional, respect, self-care, so many things that we have as a part of our values, but we really hold them seriously. So our model really is girl-centered. We have Black girls and women in the center. That's our target. And then there are organizations that are wrapped around them, and then our anchor institutions, making sure that everything is in alignment. So our goal is to launch a fund, $100 million fund. And we've been working towards that we want over the next 10 years, we want to give out $100 million to Black girls and women-led organizations across the South. And our funds, we mostly talk about our Black Girl Dream Fund because that's the most active, but we also have the Black Girl Defense Fund where we provide legal aid and support to girls who are in need, collaborative partnership philanthropy fund for organizations that partner. We want to make sure that there are dollars available, and the innovation fund, having a way for us to support innovation for not only Black women-owned businesses, but also for people who are leading in innovation in our communities and doing new things. Our grant philosophy, this is actually what happened in one of our listening sessions. One of the young ladies said, I would create a model village where girls are loved and supported and not traumatized by being constantly chastised for their behavior and their decisions. We're creating space for Black girls to dream dreams wide enough for joy. And speaking of joy, you all should have heard about our Black Girl Joy Challenge, which is open through June the 30th. Ages 12 to 24 can apply. I mean, they can register to attend one of our workshops. We have another workshop tonight at 7:00 p.m. Eastern. The link should be in the chat. I'm sorry. The link should be in the chat. If it's not, I'll make sure I put it in the chat during the talk so that you all can have an opportunity to, if there are girls or gender expansive youth that you know, that they can apply for the Black Girl Joy Challenge. They can learn more about it on this session, which probably lasts less than 30 minutes. But we want to know how you can spread joy to at least 10 of your friends, family members, or community. And the ideas that we have seen come from this, I think we've given out maybe over 500 or 600 Black Girl Joy challenges over the course of the past few years, even during the pandemic. And some of the ideas have just been amazing in terms of their execution and the impact that they've had on their community and some within their own state. So that's been really good and fun to watch. So with that, that's your intro to Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium, if you're not familiar with us. But right now, I will turn it over to Vivian Anderson of Every Black Girl, so she can tell you a little bit about herself, how she got her start, and opening and having this discussion with us of creating a world where Black girls thrive. Thank you, Vivian. I'll stop sharing now. You need to come off mute.
All right. Hello. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, as you said, my name is Vivian Anderson, pronoun she and her. Currently, I'm coming from the stolen land of Innu, Tuscarora, and the Onichi people. But I'm from South Carolina, and the land that's occupied there is the Catawba, from the Catawba people. So, like I said, I am the founder and executive director of Every Black Girl, Inc. It's a grassroots community-based service and advocacy organization focused on prevention, intervention, and creation of a world where every Black girl can thrive. And it's our belief, in order for every Black girl to thrive, the world around her has to thrive. And also, I've been involved with Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium as a movement partner since the beginning. So I'm so happy to be here today. And thank you all for being here. So I'm just going to share a little bit about how we move within Every Black Girl and how we look at creating, look to strive to create a world where every Black girl thrives. And first, I'm going to give you a definition the definition that the dictionary says: thrive is to grow or develop well or vigorously. To grow or develop well or vigorously. All right. And so a little thing about me, I like acronyms. So since we're talking about Black girls thriving, I made Thrive an acronym, right? So we're going to start with the T. So first, the T, right? T, take an audit. So as we work to create this world where Black girls thrive, of course, we always want to ask Black girls what they need, take an audit of what Black girls need. But in addition to that, we want to ask ourselves, what are we bringing to the work? What are the things that we need as Black women? What were the things we needed as Black girls? And what does the little Black girl inside of us still need to thrive? We also have to ask ourselves the difficult question of, am I doing things that may be hindering or blocking Black girls from thriving? So EBG recently started a fellowship for educators. It's called the Represent Justice Fellowship, and it was designed to pour into educators and adults at schools who work with and for our Black girls. And it was important for us to first pour into educators, especially Black women educators, because we are aware that they too have obstacles that they face within the education system. Our hope was that by pouring into them, it would create access for them to see and be with Black girls in a different, more caring and nurturing way. Through the program, the fellowship is in its 4th month, but so far, one of the educators stated that since being in the programs, she realized that she too was using words and language that could possibly be creating harm for girls. She didn't see it that way at first because she was doing what she had, that things that had been done to her. So what she told me was like a student was dancing and she told the student and what she thought was a joking way, girl, sit down and stop being fast. She said she was laughing when she said it because the girl's dancing wasn't causing a major interruption, but the girl wasn't doing her work, right? But by being in the program, she is shown her other ways to address situations like that. But more importantly, this is she realized the impact that one thing could have on a student. She said she went back and apologized to the student, even though the particular incident had happened a few months prior. She wanted to go back and repair harm that could have possibly been created from that statement. Like, so depending on age and, she was an older teacher and she was like, that was something that she heard all the time, like, child, stop being fast, go sit down. But even realizing, like, actually saying, now, what does fast mean to you, and having her break it down, like what fast meant to her. And I said, now imagine what that little girl heard when she heard, girl, stop being fast, right? And so, but the fact that she went back and she's willing to, like, okay, let me go back and repair harm, right? So, because if what my words can do can stop her from thriving, I want to make sure I go back and repair that. So that was one example. So when we are willing to take an audit on us versus always looking at the child as the problem or the person needs to be corrected, it can shift everything. EBG also constantly asks the question, there's an African saying that said, are the children well? Well, we often ask, are the adults well? Because knowing how the adults are gives us a gaze on how the children are doing. And most of the time, if the adults are not well, it is hard for the children to be well. We often say an unhealed adult can't raise a healthy child, right? And so that's key. Take an audit. Of course, like I said, always asking the girls, what do we need to thrive? What do you need to thrive and how can I support it? But then we're going to do some self-audit. Like, what are we bringing? What are the things we needed? So it can be a full conversation of thriving. So now the H, right? H. It's some heavy lifting work. Creating a world for every Black girl to thrive is some heavy lifting work. This is not a work that's a hobby or one that to collect a paycheck, because most folks in this work, it ain't the paycheck, right? This work requires us to go above and beyond, to take audit and inventory of all aspects of what is involved in the life of a Black girl, to take audit and inventory of all the things needed for her to thrive. One thing is, like, people often ask us, well, what does EBG do? What do y'all really do? And I get stuck and I'm like, how do I answer that, right? But my answer now is we do what's wanted and needed for all the issues impacting Black people, impacting women, impacting anybody who's on this planet today. Those same issues are impacting Black girls. So we have to take a multi-pronged approach, a holistic approach when it comes to serving every girl. Because like us as Black women, like us as women, Black girls are not monolithic. So we have to ensure that we are not doing cookie cutter models or programs and placing it on all girls. One girl may just need a place to express herself and hang out. Another girl may need support in academics. Another may need legal support. Another may need therapeutic support. Another may need a safe space to sleep, right? The heavy lifting also looks like having a girl in the program who is doing well in school. One, everyone would say is a good girl who doesn't cause any trouble. But while she's in our activities in our program, she's quiet. She's not standoffish, but she's not fully engaged, but she's often half asleep. I know we all been guilty of it, and I've seen it, I've done it, I'm sure I have. More back then because I've really trained myself not to. But we've been guilty of like, why you tired? You ain't got no reason to be tired. You ain't got no job. Remember that saying? We used to do that all the time. But realizing that we don't know that. We don't know what was done, or we don't know what was done or said. And so we don't want to do what was done and said to us. We don't want to perpetrate it back on them. Because after speaking with this girl, we discovered her family was on the verge of eviction. And so now our goal, in order for her to be thriving, we had to make sure, how do we support mom? Because if mom is not thriving, she's not thriving. So we needed to support mom in securing housing for her family. And right, really imagine being 13, having to take care of your younger siblings while your mom is at work, or being the one watching your mother up all night crying because your mother just doesn't know what to do, or being the one that your mother comes to with all her problems and her complaints, and you 13, right? We have no idea what these girls are going through. So we have to look at every aspect of their life to be with everyone in their life, specifically parents and guardians. Monique Houston, in her documentary Push Out, you hear one of the girls say, "You have no idea what it even took for me to get here." So one of the goals that we want to do when we're creating a world for every Black girl to thrive is start relieving some of those things. Like, what can we relieve from her so that she couldn't just be, right? Sometimes we want the girls to do all this stuff, but just really creating space and things for her to just be. So like I said, that's some heavy lifting work. Okay. And so like now it's got THR for thrive. It's reciprocal. It's give and receive. So I want you to think about these questions. Are you giving yourself what you give to the girls? The girls are not just listening to us, they are watching us. You cannot tell the girls to go advocate for themselves and you are not asking your boss for their raise. You cannot tell the girls that to dream beyond and you're not willing to step into your own dreams. You cannot tell the girls to go take time and space for themselves and you are depleting yourself on a daily. You cannot ask the girls to let you support them and yet you be afraid to ask for support or even more, receive the support when it's offered. You cannot create thriving for them if you are not thriving. And oftentimes I think the reciprocal, that R, I had so many words for R, so we're just going to stay with reciprocal because I'm like, you got to reimagine, you got to rejuvenate, we got to do all the right? But with that reciprocal, I think oftentimes we want to pour so much in, but real talk, like if you, that same saying is like, you can't pour from an empty cup. I'm telling you, if we teaching these girls anything, we want them to know that they're not supposed to be pouring from their cup at all. They're supposed to be pouring from the saucer to overflow. Because anytime your saucer is half full or you're pouring from a cup, and even if it's not fully empty, that means one aspect of your life is empty. And so we want to model. That's why it says reciprocal. And also when I think about reciprocal, let the girls pour into you. The girls also want to like give back. And sometimes like, no, sweetie, you ain't have to do that. Or we have to do all this and we stand a certain way. Let them receive the fullness of you as you give them the fullness of you. And sometimes receiving the fullness of you is saying, okay, I ain't got it today. Be it at home, be it at work, be it at school, or be it in sessions with girls. make sure that you're actually modeling what it means to actually create a world for every Black girl to thrive, because that means you too. Okay, and so which means move to the I, got a T, got an H, got an R, not I. It's intentional work. We have to be intentional around centering Black girls, including the voices of Black girls, including them in, like, even if the girls are there or not, make sure that you're including them and places where, just like before reciprocal, make sure as you're including their voices in spaces, you're including your voices in spaces where you've been silent, right? And as we include and center Black girls, be intentional to do it to not do it to the point where we're having all the girls do the work. And I'm going to explain more about that, or pushing them to speak when they're not ready. Be intentional that you include their voice, even when and especially when they are not in a room or space. You be their voice at the polls, at the community meetings, school board meetings, and legislative hearings. Center Black girls and include their voices when you are designing the programs. Make sure you have a Black girl on your advisory committee. Give them, especially those girls who want to, the opportunity to lead. And then, hear me, be intentional including them in your budgets by providing stipends when you are using their testimonies and their intellectual and creative ideas. There's not a focus group or something I do where when I'm asking girls for their intellectual property, their creative genius, then I'm not providing a stipend or a gift for them. Because also that's something we want to model. You see it all the time. Y'all on IG, y'all saying like, stop, you gonna pay Black girls for, stop pimping Black women for all their talents and their gifts. Pay Black women for their labor. Right? Same with Black girls. Same with Black girls. The same way we fight for equity and pay and everything, we want to make sure we're doing that with the same with our Black girls. And earlier I was talking about being intentional to have them lead, but not push, and not, like, still have them remember girlhood. I remember there was a young woman who was a girl who was doing our social media, right? Because if you could tell, me and social media, no. And so, and I believe like it's every Black girl. So the audience I'm looking to pull in social media are Black girls. Who best knows what Black girls are going to be looking at than Black girls? So she was doing our social media. When I tell you our social media skyrocketed, IG was off like numbers. Well, they told me numbers that, following and all that stuff. And she came to me and she said, Miss Vivian, I am so sorry, but I'm about to start 11th grade. And most people think your senior year is important, but 11th grade is the most important year. I want to be on the school newspaper. Colleges are going to be looking at me. So I'm going to have to step down from EBG, but I don't want to disappoint you. But when I tell you how I was a little sad because I was like, what we're going to do with social media. But the fact that she spoke for herself and she was telling me, I still want to be able to enjoy my high school and not just do all this work. So it's like, give them spaces to lead, but also continue to make sure we're holding them as girls and creating girlhood and childhood for them, because the world is adultifying them enough. And there's ways that they can lead, but we actually are the ones facilitating, and we're the ones doing the heavy lifting. Let's allow them to lead, but not do all the heavy lifting. And like having them have the space to have the courage to come and say, yeah, I know I'm getting paid and I know this is important, but this is what's important to me, right? And so that was intentional on how we're moving with them, how we're using their voices, how we're centering them. And, like I said, once again, make sure we're intentional about including them in the budget outside of just, the program is for them. Okay. And so now the V, I would say for Vivian, but for the V, for Thrive, it's just not the issues of the trauma that we should be focusing on, right? Creating thriving lives for Black girls means we must value the joy and celebration of Black girls. That means that the love for Black girls has to be greater and at the center of everything. It has to be bigger than our own ego, has to be bigger than our own knowing. It has to be greater than our own comfort zones, and we must value what they value. So so Southern Black Girls and Women's Consortium, right? I think they do a great job. Like I said, they just came back from conference. My girls came back and one was like, oh, I said, what did you enjoy? And she was like, the silent party. I was so lost. I was like, excuse me, a silent party? She was like, yes, they had headphones for everybody. And we all got to, and we was all around there partying, but we were all partying from what each of us like. Never have I heard of a silent party. I could be living in my own world. But for her to come back and felt like she were, she was even more so engaged with the other participants because of it. And I was like, y'all weren't even talking, but there was an unspoken language that Black girls was like, I knew what they was listening to by the moves they was making. I didn't have to hear them talk. The way she broke that down to me, that's valuing and centering Black girls and what celebrating them, but also having things that they value and love. For me at EBG, one of the things is that I ain't gonna lie, y'all, elder privilege. I got some age on me. So sometimes some of the dances and some of the music, even some of the conversations, I'll be like, ooh, clutch the pearls. Praise Jesus. Do I say, no, we cannot talk about that? No, I'm not gonna do that. No, I'm like, who are my partner orgs? And this is their lane. Who are the young people that I can bring in to lead these? If this is what the girls are saying they want and need, let me figure out a way to make it happen. And then I have to get out of my comfort zone and say, let me go listen to this album so I can know what they know. So I can at least be on some, like have some type of dialogue. So we're talking, so I'm not just talking one way with them. I can add their language so we can have some common, language, and we can have some connected so they can know I care about what you care about. I'm not just going to keep talking to you about Diana Ross. I'm going to say Cardi B's name. I'm going to say Sky's name. I'm going to say the folks that you know, and I'm going to learn a song or two. Now, I'm not going to go to the club with you, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? Also, when we're talking about celebrating every Black girl, one of the things is that we want to celebrate every Black girl, and not from the standards that society say they're supposed to have or what we think they should be. So recently we just had a scholarship dinner for our our young people who graduated high school. And the scholarship is called the What's Next Scholarship, right? It's not a college scholarship. It's not for this. It's like whatever your what's next is in life, here's, financial support for you to start it, right? One of the girls, and when we think about this year's graduates, they spent 2 of those years like behind a screen. They had a lot. COVID really impacted their high school, and then one of my girls, she barely made it, but guess what? She made it. She made it, and she gets to be acknowledged for it. She gets to be affirmed, and she gets to stand in that line and receive a scholarship like everybody else. We have to say, if we're going to be like really standing and centering all our Black girls, all the stuff that we've been told, this is the criteria, we get to break all the criteria, y'all. We get to break it because we are creating this world for them, right? And so we're down to the E, THRIVE. The E is expansive and ever-changing. We have to be open to the fact that there will always be a new way. There will always be a need to shift. Understanding and accepting that what we did yesterday may not work for them today. It will require us to expand our knowledge in all issues Black girls. It will require us to expand not what we do, but who we are doing it with, creating partnerships that allow us to expand areas of thriving for Black girls. So when we're talking about being expansive, I have so many partnerships, right? Because everywhere Black girls go, I want them to know that they belong. So if the Hive, which is an organization that works with survivors of sexual violence, if they're over in another county, I'm going to partner, because when that girl from my program goes over there, she's going to know she belongs to that community, right? And she can thrive over there. When we go to taking a group of kids to Amsterdam in 2 weeks, praise God. pray for me, y'all. In Amsterdam, those girls gonna know that they belong there everywhere. So the larger your reach is, got partners in Florida, got partners in North Carolina, the larger your reach, the more expansive you get. Because guess what? If we gonna break any lie, we gonna break the lie that it's not enough for all of us. So because you partner and you expose your girls to other organizations, it does not mean that, oh, they're going to leave me. It means we are doing our job. We are exposing them and allowing them to like really be fully engaged and fully. Half my girls been ambassadors with Southern Black girls and women. I'm not, yes, that's what we want. We want them to have everything on their resumes, everything on their bios. When they put up their IG bios, we want all y'all organizations on there. So get expansive with the in your partnerships, in the way that you think. Because like I said, there have been times when I'm like, well, wait a minute, I thought y'all all liked art. Yeah, we did last week, but we're doing something else. So be willing. It's going to be ever changing, ever changing. And let me say what else about ever changing. Well, yeah, that's the one thing that they like something new every day. And the way things are happening, unfortunately, we're going to have to continue to be vigilant and changing with things because, you know, we got the CRT going on. We got all these issues that are happening and it's impacting our girls. So we're going to have to be constantly flexible so we can rapidly respond, if that's the word. So once again, thrive, take an audit, heavy lifting, reciprocal, intentional, value, celebration, and joy, expansive and ever changing. So yeah, that's all I got for y'all right now. And I would love to open it up for some conversation, some suggestions, feedback, because y'all may have ways that you're doing things that really tie into what we're talking about. And so, yeah, let's do this.
So first of all, thank you so much for this like really, really good conversation that you had. I was like thinking like, oh my gosh, she has such good ideas. Like what's next? You know, that what next scholarship that you just talked about. And for your age, I know that you said heavy lifting, but you also were talking about how are the adults doing. I think that was important too. So I put how are the adults doing for my age too. So I got 2 H's.
Okay.
For my thrive. Like I said, this was such a rich conversation. And for those of you, if you can come on camera, please do. If not, but we definitely want to hear some of the questions. And what you said at the end, you said a couple things. You said no cookie cutter model approach. And like making sure that we know what's important for each girl. Now, when we did that silent party, I didn't know, I had never really went to one myself, but I heard them. Actually, I had went to one at a resort before. So I was like, I want to do this. And I knew that our event planner has done them herself. So when we went in that room and those girls were having those headphones, and everybody had their own separate music, but you heard a lot of words because they thought that we could. I was like, we can hear y'all, can't hear each other, but we can hear y'all. So it was a lot going on. But you also talked about collaboration over competition. Yeah, that's in a nutshell what you just said, was having us being able to collaborate. You want these girls' resumes to be long and want them to participate. So thank you. I know some of you all said you had to jump, and that's fine. But any questions or comments out there in the audience, let me make it a little bit more conversational.
Yeah, there we go.
If you want to raise your hand or anything like that, let me know, and we can you can give some comments or some feedback. This was such a really good conversation. Anybody?
Hey, Vivian, it really was good. Thanks, Chauncey. I'm glad I jumped on here. This is Alice, in case you can't.
Hey.
I can't turn the camera on because you all, I can't turn the camera on. Y'all don't need to see me. But let me just say, you dropped some nuggets today. And I hear Chauncey and can tell she was taking notes. I was definitely taking some notes on you're going through your THRIVE. What's next? Scholarship, love it. Absolutely love it. But just taking the time to walk through, you know, you could have taken any word other than thrive, but just to take the time to walk through and break it down and start to help us to see where we need to be more sensitive when it comes to these young, to our young sisters. I just appreciate your presentation. I got a lot out of it. I got to jump because I do have another call to get started
Okay.
prepared for, but good to see you and thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I hope as like y'all sitting out here, I really do hope that one of the things is that you keep going back to reciprocal. That's one of the ones, because the give and receive, I'm watching girls burn themselves out, and I'm doing a workshop. I'm in a series right now. It's called From Grind to Grace. And we're really looking like what taught us the grind culture. And we're like, because it's when we're like, oh, I got to be the one. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to get it done. I got to get it done. If I don't do it, nobody else does it. But guess who's watching us do that? The same way we watch some folks do it, we got young folks watching us. And as much as we're creating for them, if they seeing us create it and we're worn down, they're going to be like, well, how do you create joy if I'm always depleted, right? And so we want to make sure that we're not repeating some of the stuff that didn't work. Now, these work ethics that we have, amazing, but we also don't want, her name is Esther Armar, and she calls it like, we don't want to be the emotional mammies of everybody. And we don't want to train our young people to be emotional mammies of everybody. And that means I got to take on everybody's stuff because and forget about me. So I want the adults to also think about, please make sure our young people will respect us more if we say, we're going to have to we're not going to open on Friday because I actually going to need a rest day. And I challenge all of you young people to go do a rest day. So we really want to what we want them to have, remember to own it for yourself as well. And it's a constant practice with me. Trust me. It's a muscle I got to keep practicing.
That is excellent. From grind to grace sounds like something I need to be in. It's something I talk about, but just have not instituted correctly. But that sounds like that is with this grind culture that we have. And that's something I talk about often, is like we're constantly going. But I have taken Fridays off. So I do that. I do have Friday. I call them flex Fridays. If I need to work, I do. If I don't work. So that's
Okay.
good. Brenda, I do see your comment here. She said her microphone isn't working, but she really wants to commend you for your presentation. You had so many great ideas to help Black girls and women. I do see that Cassandra Brown has raised her hand. Go ahead, Cassandra. Or Cassandra.
Cassandra, you're right. Thank you. Good afternoon. Vivian is one of my favorite planets. But I just would like to say that I've been through like her leadership course and some other things, and I've really learned some of these important jewels that she spoke about today, especially not being able to pour out if you're, working off of empty. There's really nothing you can do. And so just recently a Black mom was murdered, a mother of 4 by a white lady. And so I've been organizing around that. And it was like, as soon as I got started and I'm like, okay, I'm all in. And then all of a sudden I got really sick. And it was like for a whole week, I just had to be still and know that he is God, And it was like, but Lord, I was ready. And so to what she was saying, sometimes you just have to take care of you. Just be still for that moment, get prepared, let Lord pour into you, let others pour into you. And then you're able to give what you can give. And another shout out to Vivian. We do a Dripped in Pearls, Black Girls and Women's Initiative, ages 16 to 25. And so for our first annual one, which was last year, she showed up with her girls and she showed out, and it was an amazing event. So I'm excited for our second one, but fortunately, actually, she'll be in Amsterdam with her girls. But I am so excited for you. I love you, my sister, and I'm sure we'll connect soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I want to add something to that, because there was a killing of a young man in South Carolina, and I got the calls that came in like, Vivian, what are we going to do? And sometimes we have to understand, sometimes the doing may be making sure they're connected to the right people. Because when things happen, I'll call Southern Black girls and women and say, who do you know? Who are we working? Who are our partner orgs working over here? Because at one point I was traveling everywhere because of an assault against a girl. But one of the things I really started working to do was like, how do I work with organizations to touch, support them in what rapid response looks like? So I'm not the one going state to state. And there's so many folks that you may not know their name, but they on those grounds and they're doing some work. And all we need to do is come in and support them and let them lead. And so maybe that was a way of just say, oh, let me find out who's on the ground doing this work. Although that's where you live, there may be some other folks who really need to be organizing around that. And you can come in behind them and just say, let me support you as you support these families. Because I know we always want to do, but sometimes our doing is not always on the front line. People don't know how much stuff needs to happen behind that line for that front line to stand.
That's so true and such an excellent point. Sometimes you can't do it, the big heavy lifting, like you said, but you can make the connections so that people who are already in that lane and already on the ground and already close to it can do that work. I mean, such rich information. Any more questions? For those of you who weren't on earlier, I talked about the Black Girl Joy Challenge being open for girls of gender expansive youth ages 12 to 24. And that tonight at 7:00 p.m. Eastern, there is a call just kind of talking about the Black Girl Joy Challenge. We want as many applications as we can so we can give these grants out to young ladies and gender expansive youth who are implementing ideas in their community, so we can kind of shore up those projects that they want to implement and give them an opportunity to do something and put some funding behind. We telling you that we want you to make change or to do something. It doesn't have to be anything big. People are bringing joy in all kinds of ways. I've seen so many different ideas come out of this, and it goes to what Vivian was saying, is like letting them lead and finding out what they like and what they want to do, from affirmation boxes to I think about period poverty. Then I saw one young lady a couple years ago took her teachers to a teacher appreciation dinner. And I mean, just imagine how good her teachers felt like going to a teacher appreciation dinner that I'm sure that probably had never really been done for them before. Mm-hmm. So I think that there's so many opportunities that are there. Cassandra, I do see your thing in the chat. So if you send that email, I think we can connect around some things. But if you can, I put the link in the chat so you can register for or have your folks register for the Black Girl Joy application meeting tonight. Go ahead, Vivian, you have questions?
I was gonna say that also, especially if you're running an organization or if you're involved in an organization, one of the things that, because this is what I did with my girls, one, like she said, let them know it's not anything to be intimidated about. This is their idea. It could be, I know during COVID is when the first child applied, and she did a virtual slumber party, right? They on the phones all night anyway. They did a virtual slumber party. But what I was able to do is say, here is how I write for grants. This is how you write for grants, but this is how you also fill out your college essay applications. This is how you do this, and you make it more. And like, once they see, like, you could take all the scare away from it, especially if you work for an organization and they've seen you getting ready for grants, you got to remove that from them. They be like, oh Lord. But I really, and if you're in an organization, I want you to go ask that niece, that cousin, that young cousin, even the people, even the girls in your family, we often think outward. I have to be like, oh my God, my cousin got a 14-year-old. Oh, wait a minute, my and so make sure we get it out, right? Because like I said, this is another way for them to start understanding that their ideas and their words have value. And so, and once again, it's not long and complicated, the process, because that was something they relieved from that. So I really encourage you to make sure that you're having your folks apply. Take it to the church and talk to those girls.
All right, thank you so much. If there are no more questions, please Make sure you stay registered. Tell other people about our next Sage Circle, which is going to be the 4th Thursday in July. So every 4th Thursday, we're doing this, sharing our knowledge and giving opportunity for you. This is a knowledge exchange. You can tell us about the work that you're doing as well. So thank you all for joining us today. And this was recorded, so we'll make sure it's uploaded to our socials, to YouTube. Thank you again, Vivian, for just giving us such an excellent presentation and so many excellent nuggets. I'm just going to end it with thrive, take an audit.
Thrive.
The H is the heavy lifting work. R is being reciprocal. So make sure that you're doing some compensating, and that girls are getting compensated for their work. I'm sorry, are you giving yourself what you teach to other girls? Doing intentional work, is I. Doing intentional work, making sure that girls are also compensated for what they create, just the same way that we want to. Valuing the joy and celebration of Black girls. That's the V. Value. What do they value? Knowing what they value. And for myself, sometimes I get on Instagram and try to figure out what channels, what people are they following, so I can see what the chatter is, like what is the latest news and what are some of the things that they talk about, and then just listening to them. But at least I can join in the conversation sometimes. And E, being expansive and ever changing. So thank you for telling us THRIVE and teaching us how to create spaces for girls that thrive.
Okay, hold on one sec. I'm trying to do this. I think I'm doing this right, because I saw somebody request